we're now going to change gears slightly. I'm extremely pleased that Dimitri is with us. He is billed this afternoon to talk about really his personal views of what's happening in the world. And he doesn't have any big PowerPoints to show. He doesn't have any charts with EBITDA on it or market share. I think he wants to talk a little bit about how he sees things. No more introduction. Dimitri, please.
Thank you, Mick. I will be talking about the business tonight because I've been asked to do that. So at dinner, I will talk a little bit about the business and take any questions you have on the business. I'll make a few comments on my perspectives, and you can ask whatever you want on the business. But actually, this originally was going to be a panel discussion, so I don't have any formal comments. It was going to be a panel discussion I was going to be on, but somehow I was told this week has been like that. Everything's changed a lot this week for me. It actually, working backwards, at 1 o'clock I was supposed to have a meeting with John Pepper, and he said, I'll meet you in the lobby. And I got there, and Francie comes up, and I said, oh, I was just waiting for John. She said, no, you were waiting for me. I said, okay, that's been my week. So we started with Francie, went to John. And then, of course, I came here, and this this program changed. But anyway, tonight I'll talk to you about the business. So any questions on the business, hold them for tonight if you can. But I was asked to make this very personal by Mick and just talk a little bit about, globalization, what I've seen in my lifetime, because the fact that he says I'm a global citizen. So who am I? My name is Evridiadis Dimitris Georgios Panayotopoulos. I'm Greek, but I wasn't born in Greece. I was born in Africa, and my parents were also born in Africa. So my grandparents moved from Samos, an island near Turkey. He went and he was looking for work, worked on a boat, ended up working on a coffee farm in Africa, and stayed there and had children, and then that was my parents, and the other one, he was in the Peloponnese, and he was doing the same thing and ended up on a sisal farm in Africa, working on a sisal farm. So they were there, they were like 18 years old at the time, so we're talking a long time ago. And then my parents were born there, and then we were born there and were schooled there and so on. So my first languages are Greek and Swahili, which I still speak, and I've learned other languages like English and French and others along the way, but those are my first languages. Swahili now I do speak from time to time. You'd be surprised in P&G, I find them. We have an R&D guy in family care, which is our tissue towel business, who is from Kenya, so I can speak to him. We have a sales guy in Canada. I found him, and we can speak to him. But I also speak it most weeks, because when I speak to my mom and my uncles who are now living in Greece, we speak in Greek, of course, but when they want to speak about politics on the phone, they always switch to Swahili, because my mom thinks, and she's 90 years old, and my uncle, that she may get into trouble if she says something bad in Greek, so she's safer in Swahili. So anyway, that's kind of my childhood. Went to school there, grew up there, wonderful life, love Africa. And then from there, went to the UK, finished my studies there, and joined P&G in the UK, like many of us do, straight out of university. And it's been an interesting life, because when I joined, if somebody had said to me, one day you will be working in China, or you would be, at that time, it was still Mao Zedong and the Little Red Book, and I would have said, what are you talking about? Or you would be working in Central Eastern Europe and Africa, when the Soviet Union was closed and the Berlin Wall was still up. I would have said, you're crazy. So that in itself is an incredible thing, that I've been very fortunate that in my career at P&G, I've been able to go in the very early days of China and the Soviet Union and other places and see that whole incredible transition of those places. When I first went to China, we used to do store checks on bicycles. John Pepper would come, and others would come, Ed would come, and others, and we would get on bikes and basically do store checks by A.G. Lafley. That was the world that we were living in. You go to China now, especially the big cities. If you go into rural, it hasn't changed as much. But if you go into the big cities like Shanghai and Beijing and Guangzhou, it's just, you could be in Dubai, you could be in Singapore, you could be in Hong Kong, in New York. It's just an incredible, and that's happened in a very short period of time. So incredible change, and I've been lucky to be able to experience that change. Now, how does that impact a few things? First of all, poverty. 40 years ago, I think the number was 38% of the population was living in poverty. With this incredible change, what's happened is poverty has gone down 40 years later. Still too high, but it's gone down to about 27%. So still too high, but it's changing. And with that, there's an incredible emerging middle class. And so that is also an incredible shift. And more consumers now in Beijing, in Shanghai, in Mumbai, in India, even in Lagos, Nigeria, wherever, actually have money and want better products. When I was in China, and I was there 8 years in the early stages, we were bringing in our products from outside, the shampoos and laundry and so on, good products. And they were not good products, and people liked them. But we got stuck because most of the business was down at the lower tiers with the Chinese competitors. So the job we had to do was get the portfolio and have the sort of top tier with our brands, but then also reformulate, find other ways to cut costs, and have. So for example, Vidal Sassoon, Pantene at the top, and then all the way down to Rejoice, which is really the brand of the people, and where the volume was. And likewise with Central Eastern Europe, you'd have Ariel, and then Tide, and then Bonix, and have the portfolio. And that's how we built these businesses. And that's what we did. And today we're lucky enough to have a $7 billion business in China and $12 billion in Central Eastern Europe, Middle East, Africa, and so on. So we did okay. But what's happened now is we're finding that people are coming in the very top tiers. In fact, these same competitors that we were, people like Anla on Femcare and Diaopai and Blue Moon and all sorts of Chinese brands are coming in with super premium products. And charging very, very high. And we'd started at the top, but they found somewhere up there. So we're now, scrambling to make sure that we're also playing up there with these 1+ consumers as we're talking, whilst obviously not losing the business that we have here. So that's an incredible thing that we could have never imagined, those years when I was in China. These people have money. The fastest growing car industry right now is China. They're buying houses there. I was in Lagos. And many of you may have been to Lagos. I mean, it's a great place, and we have a great business there. And we went to the hotel. Laurent was with me, and there was a Lamborghini outside the hotel, and it said the number plate was Jimmy 26. And I went into the guy and I said, "Hey, that's a nice car, brand new car." He said, "Yeah, it belongs to Jimmy. He's a local guy here." I mean, these people now, if you have a Lamborghini, you can afford to buy one of our super premium products, right? So clearly. There is money there, and we need to make sure that we're in all the tiers. Now, the reverse is happening in the developed world. We used to have these products that we were moving, as I said, to places like China and so on, which were premium products. Here now, the world changed. And now you have the European crisis, especially in places like Greece and Spain, where the unemployment is over 25%, and amongst young people over 50%, Italy. And there we're finding market shrinkage and people actually, not being able to afford products. So we have to now go down. So it's a total reversal. So in China, we were going down, and now we're having to go up. Here, we're having to go down. Even the US, in 2008, the world changed in the US. That was the time when you might remember, I mean, the Americans would obviously, when on TV, all they talked about was, banks are going bankrupt. You can't even have your money in the bank anymore. Companies were going. The world changed, and suddenly we realized we were going to have to go and start playing down. Of course, you have this huge migration also of Hispanic consumers and others, who are where the children are being born are in those lower income levels. So we're having now to launch products like Charmin Basic, Bounty Basic, and come down, stay obviously on the high ground, but come out with lower tier products. So the term developing is one observation, I guess I'm saying in summary for this piece, is changing. It used to be developing markets, you had to go down. Developed, you had to go up, you stayed up. Now we're going the other way. The world is becoming smaller, and the lines are being, kind of totally destroyed. So that's one observation, one theme. The other theme, and I'll go for questions in a minute, but the other theme is this whole incredible change that's happened in terms of the social media, which I know you've talked a lot about, but just my perspective on that. I mean, obviously that didn't exist when I was in places like China. We didn't even have mobile phones or anything like that. And today, there are, I believe, 1.7 billion people, on the internet, and 1 in 7 people have Facebook, and actually half of those use it every day, and this includes Indonesia and all around the world. And so people are connecting. The world is becoming smaller, and again, these consumers are all wanting the same things through this incredible social media. It's not just Facebook, obviously, it's Twitter and it's everything else that goes with it. So that's an incredible change. And that brings its challenges to it. This whole social media thing has a lot of advantages because it means we can get to these people more quickly. When we come out with an incredible product like the pods or whatever, the word gets out more quickly, especially if people start talking, hey, have you tried this product? It's a great product. And you're getting free advertising, and it really, you can really fuel it. And we've had a lot of success stories there. But just a quick story, though, on where it can go wrong, where we launched Pampers Drymax in the US, which was a product which was thinner and better than your current Pampers. So it was, Pampers has gone from being very thick in the early days, and now it's got thinner and more effective with technology, more comfortable for the babies and so on. Well, one consumer on Facebook had a bad experience with that Pampers. One consumer. Her baby had a rash, and that happens, and she got upset with us. And she went and set up this Facebook page, and she said, this new Pampers Drymax doesn't work, it causes rash, which was not true, and we eventually proved it wasn't true, because meanwhile millions of these things were being sold and we didn't have many problems. But she managed to get people on this book and say, oh yeah, I've also, and even people that were not on were not on this Facebook thing were worried about buying Pampers Drymax. Clearly, if you start reading this stuff, even if you say, well, maybe I shouldn't buy it then. I don't want to risk getting. So we had a problem. I mean, if we'd been a smaller, and we tried to get on the site. Jodie Allen was our general manager. She has 4 or 5 children. She tried to get on the site to say, hey, we're listening. They cut her off the site, so she couldn't even get on. I'm a mother, I have kids, and they didn't want to know. After a while, obviously it started petering out. She came back and she set up another site and said, don't call it diaper rash anymore. Call it chemical burn. Right? Chemical burn. And they started posting these horrible pictures of babies with nappy, with diaper rash and chemical burn. And then the thing just took off again and again. We obviously eventually got independent authorities. They tried to also get it to the UK, and so it started spreading to the UK. We managed to stop it there. We went on TV and said, this is totally untrue, and we showed that this wasn't the case. But anyway, eventually it stopped. But if we'd been a small company, they could have brought us down, is my point. One consumer. In the early days, years back, you would have sent her a coupon, say, I apologize for this, and here's a coupon, go and buy another Pampers. You can't do that anymore. So, that for me was an incredible lesson. And I say to people, hey, this is something we have to be very, very careful of. It can also be fueled by competitors and other people. So you have to be very, very careful. And so how can we use this social media, positively rather than negative? Because it was totally unfounded. And as I said, we got, and we still sell the product, and it's a perfect product. So this is another thing that I've experienced. And then the final personal thing I would say, or 2 final personal things. One is, I have 6 older kids, 4 boys and 2 girls in their 20s. They can't work for P&G, so they work for Google and other companies, and they're great kids. But I'm fortunate enough to have had, and by the way, when these kids were small, obviously they didn't have iPhones or any of that. None of that existed. They're in their 20s. There was none of that. Now I'm fortunate enough to have 3 babies under 2 years old. A little girl called Sophia, who's 2, and twins, a boy and a girl, Eleni and Andreas, who are 6 months old. And Sophia can now get her mom's iPad and she can just work it perfectly, right? I mean, and she, at 10 months old, could turn it on, watch her favorite shows, go to pictures, see pictures of daddy because he travels a lot. You know, I mean, at 10 months old. So the older kids were reading books made out of paper and, you know, doing puzzles. These kids, it's a totally different world. So what's going to happen when Sophia is 20 years old, right? 20 years from now. I mean, we can imagine some of it. You've seen probably this Google Glass stuff that's going on with the, you know, where you have the thing here and you can voice activate it and take pictures and videos and whatever. I read the other day, one guy said you have to be careful to turn it off when you go to the bathroom because you could be. You know, I mean, there's just incredible stuff that's going on, who knows? You know, we just have to be ready for this incredible change. And of course, e-commerce is huge. Most of our Pampers now are sold on e-commerce. In the US, Pampers on e-commerce is bigger than the grocery channel. So they're bought directly. And, you know, in places like Korea, a big part of the business is e-commerce. China, you know, over 100 million in e-commerce. So it's a huge business. We're on our way to 2 billion there. We've got a lot more to do on a lot more on brands. But it's, you know, that's also a huge change that's happened very, very suddenly. We buy all the Pampers. You know, it comes directly to the house because we have three in Pampers. So a lot of it comes, but it comes directly to the house rather than having to go and buy it. So that's another huge, huge change. The other thing, you know, and of course the other thing is Laurent is here, Laurent Philippe, who handles our senior business. I mean, a lot of business now is done through, even in developing markets, through, you know, your phone. So in Kenya, for example, because they don't have the banking and everything else, infrastructures, I think 25% of the GDP, or Laurent, something like that, I mean, a huge number is going through you do it through your phone. Huge, huge change, and we have to be ready for that. So is that not the right number, Laurent, because you went quiet? It is the right number or it isn't? It is. Okay, good. Thank you. Because I'm not, just wanted to make sure I didn't say something stupid. You know, it's a big number. So clearly, you know, we've got to be ready for this incredible change that's going on. The final thing I would say, I don't know if there's pictures, there were some pictures that were supposed to come on. You know, one of the things we do, which I love to do, is in addition to going to these places, and I travel a lot, for those who know me, I go all around the world to work the business. But one of the things we do is obviously we try and improve lives, not just with our products, which is obviously our mission and our statement of purpose, but also to deal with problems around the world and to give back to the communities, again, in line with our statement of purpose. And we have a few projects. I mean, first of all, whenever there's a catastrophe somewhere, we're there. We have this is not that piece, I'll tell you that in a minute, but Tide Loads of Hope goes to all, like, you know, whenever there's a hurricane or this horrible accident that happened this week in the US, we're there with Tide Loads of Hope, which is all about people don't have water, they can't shower, they can come to us, they can have their shower, we wash their clothes, we press their clothes, we give them clean clothes. So those trucks immediately go to the places where there's an issue. We go with our Duracell power to keep them. The gentleman that said, you know, Duracell should be all about keeping people empowered. That is what we do. We have a project now in Duracell, by the way, which you'll hear more about, which is working with Starbucks and with car manufacturers and others to keep people always empowered with Duracell. So more to come on that. So that is our vision with that brand, and to do a lot more with it. So they come with the Duracell trucks to keep everybody, you know, connected. And so we do, and then of course we send a lot of product and so on. We have another, and we do that everywhere in the world. When the Japan disaster happened, we had the aerial Loads of Hope program there and so on. So we do that whenever we can. And then the other thing we do is we have two programs. One is this pure water, which I'm sure you've heard about. So, you know, you can go to any place in the world where people, like this is the picture here of this little boy drinking this water. So this water there came from a stream, very dirty, I mean muddy water, and you put it in this big container, you put a sachet of this pure in, you stir it, and then you take it out, and then you can drink it. And I drank it too, and here I am. So, you know, no problem. It's just an incredible technology, and we just this week celebrated the 6 billionth liter of water for children's safe drinking water, which, you know, we're very, very proud of. And we work obviously with agencies and so on. That's the Pure Water program, which we're very proud of, and I was fortunate enough to go and see that as I was traveling on business. And the other one, of course, is the Pampers UNICEF, which is now a 10-year-old program, where every time a person buys Pampers, we vaccinate a mother or a young woman so that we try and get rid of neonatal tetanus. And we work with customers, Carrefour. In fact, when I went to Africa to see that program, Carrefour was with me. But Tesco, Walmart, everybody gets behind this program. And again, the objective is to annihilate with UNICEF, so to get rid of neonatal tetanus. We've already managed to do that in a number of countries, and we want to keep doing that till it goes and there's no more tetanus. And then we'll go on to the next one. But these are programs, which are all about, helping and giving back, which I particularly enjoy being a part of, and we'll keep doing as much of that as we can. So those are kind of some of the thoughts I had on, from my world, a tour of the years at P&G. If there are any questions, I'll be interested.
Are there any questions for Dimitri? One down here.
There's a
one
question over there.
You mentioned the Hispanic market versus US. So
Yeah.
one of the contexts that was set for me in this meeting is G7. Thank you. G7 versus E15. And when you think of the US, it's both inside. How do you ensure? Because when we talk to brand managers, they know about it, but they don't see it. It's not part of their context.
Yeah.
And we're seeing P&G miss the boat on it. How can we help?
Yeah, no, we know we're missing the boat on it. And we are actually, it's not just in the US, by the way, it's everywhere. Because that's the other trend I didn't talk about. This incredible migration of people. Hispanics is one into North America, but you've got Southern Europeans and Africans coming into Europe. I mean, you've got a lot of migration. They bring their whole culture with them. They want to use the products that they're used to. So the Hispanics in the US want to use their Ariel that they could buy in Mexico, and we definitely have missed a lot of that. So we're taking it very seriously. We're now making sure that we advertise to them. We have brought products that we have, like Ariel, which we make in the US now for them, and other products, and we communicate with them. It's a big priority. The other thing is they don't shop necessarily in the same shops that we're very big in. So they go more to the smaller shops, and we're missing the boat there too. So we're good on the Walmarts and the Targets and the Costcos and all those people. And we're good in the high-frequency stores. Again, I'll make a plug for Laurent Philippe. He runs, in addition to running CEMEA, he does the high-frequency store program. We're good at high-frequency stores. Are these little stores that you see around the world. We're good there, but in the US, we're not good at those little stores. And so our brands are often not present in those stores. So Pampers, often you won't find it in those little stores. So we're working that as well, because that is a huge priority. That's where the babies are being born, amongst those families. So we have to get to those babies, or to those people. I'm trying my best to have more babies, but I can't really... So no, it's definitely a priority.
So I work for your Hispanic agency in the U.S.
Okay,
for the
you have an ulterior motive then.
If I can help in any way, no, it's not.
No, I'm just
it's
kidding.
a passion.
I'm just kidding.
I promise, it's a
okay,
passion.
just
So
kidding.
whatever we can
It's
do.
just my bad sense of humor.
There was another question down here, I think.
Dimitri,
Yes.
Kevin said just now
Yes.
that marketing is dead. I'm not quite sure where that leaves the thousands of us who have practiced it in P&G and outside, and hundreds who are practicing it at the moment. In the 1950s, Peter Drucker said, marketing and innovation are what matter, the rest is cost. Regis McKenna said marketing is everything. And David Packard said marketing is too important to be left to the marketing department. Where do you stand on that?
Well, no, I think, listen, I definitely think, I said when I joined the company, I never imagined that I would be in China, which was closed, or Russia, and I never imagined that my kids would be, able to do an iPad, play with an iPad. And I don't know what Sophia will have when she's 20 years old. So I don't think we can predict it. We have to. It's like an amoeba. We have to just go with the flow and make sure we're there soon enough when there's a trend. And so more and more now of our money is going into interactive, away from the traditional media. Of course, brand managers and others are nervous about that because we've stood the test of time with advertising on TV and so on. So they want to have the TV advertising and the other money on top. And I'm saying, no, we need to make sure that we still keep our costs under control. So we're doing a lot of learning, but more and more money is going there. And our agencies are learning, and our agencies are also, Saatchi's and others, are also making sure that they buy up, other agencies and others as these trends change so that we don't stay behind. My son, the people that are most direct to you are your kids, right? P&G, they'll be polite, but my sons tell me, the one that works for Google, for example, you guys are behind. You guys have got to get ahead of the game. You guys are the ones that invented, the brand management and everything else that you did, but you guys are behind. So we're very aware that we have to make sure that we stay ahead of the game and manage whatever happens. But it'll be different. There's no question it'll be different. My older kids don't watch TV anymore. They see it all on their devices, right? They watch the films, they watch everything. So they're not going to see the TV ads on TV. So we've got to be communicating with them in very different ways.
Maybe if there's one more question for Dimitri?
Sorry, did you finish or?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, different but not dead is. I missed Kevin's presentation. Unfortunately, I'm sure it was excellent. I'll talk to him later. But I think different but not dead. If you want to come up with a different term for communicating with those people, which is not marketing, that's a totally different hypothetical discussion we can have. But I think you've got to get to these people, right? To tell them about your new products, about the benefits and everything else. The question is, how do you do it? And obviously, as I mentioned, social media is a huge way that we can do it. And the positive side of the social media, not the negative one that I mentioned with the Pampers story. But all those things, we've got to be ahead of the game. And obviously, we want our partners to help us with that. Sorry.
There's one more over there, and then maybe we'll call it a close
Dimitri,
on the question.
my name is Jose. I just left the company after having worked a bunch of years in engineering and brand management.
In where?
In engineering and brand management. Okay. Yesterday we had here Caroline Miles, I think. She is the CEO of Save the Children. And talking about social responsibility and the business of doing good, she said, and I quote her, unlocking that the corporations have to unlock value by linking social and business results in the long term. Now, she mentioned Procter & Gamble. She said that it's far behind expectations for someone like her and far behind direct competitors like Unilever and Reckitt Benckiser. Would you agree with that statement and why?
I don't know for sure whether we're far behind. I'll take a word for it, but I'd like to meet her too. But I think that
that can be arranged, Dimitri.
Yeah, that's fine. We're open. But I guess that she wants some business too. So I told you about the Pampers UNICEF program, right? It's huge. And we spend a lot of money on that, believe me, and get our customers behind it and so on. With the drinking water, children safe drinking water, pure. It's huge. It's a huge program that we have. These Tide Loads of Hope and all these other things that I told you about are huge. There are huge amounts of money. Now, could we do more? Of course. And we're open to doing a lot more. So by all means, put her in touch with me, and we'll see what more we can do. But we're serious about improving lives with our products, but also helping in ways beyond our products in any way that we can to make the world a better place.
I think we say thank you to Dimitri.
Thank you.